this really feels like we've entered into a time where it's, God, it's so dystopian right now. It's so, and it's probably been that way for a long time, but it just feels more dystopian than ever before. I don't understand why there's so many world leaders taking inaction for what's happening in Gaza. Like, how are they okay with it? Like, how do they stomach it? How do they go to bed at night knowing they're not doing anything and they can? So my request to everyone out there, every normal person out there, we need to start pressuring them. There was a Palestinian man that I watched, and he was like, how did so many people that lives in Zionist United States know about what's happening in Gaza?
So I asked, so if everybody has a specific algorithm, a specific bubble, that means somebody not interested in Palestine would never see any Palestinian content. And they said, exactly. So I said, explain to me why people all over, why somebody in California called Samantha, who grew up in a Zionist environment, never heard anything about Palestinians, explain to me how the Palestinian content got onto her phone. And they said, because Sammy, when thousands of people share something, algorithm doesn't get affected. When millions share it, the algorithm raises an eyebrow. When billions share it, the algorithm bangs on the door of the bubble and it says, listen, listen, listen. I know you're watching some funky thing about somebody falling in a swimming pool and doing a prank, but you need to see this because billions of people are sharing it. We don't know what it is. We're just capitalists. We just like things that are popular. We're going to put it on your screen. So when David, Samantha, Sarah, Michael, Jeffrey, give me names, Charlotte, Cali, I don't know if Cali's a name, but in any case, California, which take the first part. California, when they woke up one day, when they were expecting to go through TikTok to go see the latest dance trend, instead they saw Mu'taz Azaiza, they saw Plastia, they saw Hind al-Khudari. They scrolled to the next part. They saw the kids, the picture of the hospital which was bombed, and they see the limbs of the children outside those hospitals, those children lying there. They saw the mother lying over the corpse of her son, and she's screaming. She says, why couldn't they spare the head? Because the head has been blown off the body. They see the kids with their limbs amputated, crying, saying, I want my leg back, I want my leg back. What do you think Samantha, Jeffrey, Charlotte, Chris, John, what do you think they did? They didn't scroll past. They clicked the share button. When they clicked the share button, they ended up spreading it. When they spread it to more people. And when Gallup went and did their polls about how the Americans feel, what is the current American public opinion, they were stunned to find that under 35s have become overwhelmingly pro-Palestinian. That Kamala Harris might be standing for Zionism, but her daughter is raising money for Palestine. The point that I'm emphasizing here is what brought about that American public opinion shift? What brought about that shift that has suddenly made Europe restore funding for UNRWA when Biden didn't want to? That made Canada restore funding for UNRWA when Biden didn't want to. That made Norway triple its funding for UNRWA when Biden didn't want to. That what is making all these nations change their minds? It's not some conspiracy theory. It's you. It's the ordinary individual. You who think yourself to be weak are the ones manifesting a power so great that it is causing this shift in public opinion and forcing the change in foreign policy. When South Africa heard your call, South Africa, may Allah give it every prosperity. May Allah give it every security. May Allah protect it from every evil. When South Africa heard your call, because the algorithm promoted the Palestinian content that you were sharing, South Africa took the case to the ICJ, and I saw something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Israel is now on trial for genocide in the International Court of Justice, which has led to Japanese companies cutting their relations. They cut their ties with Israeli companies out of fear of the ICJ ruling. Ask yourself, who brought that change? Was it Biden? No. Was it Blinken? No. Was it Netanyahu? No. Was it any of the neighboring leaders? No, it was you. There is a power that you are manifesting because the ordinary person is not weak or powerless. The ordinary person is not incapable.
And that makes sense that's how TikTok works. And it's not just what's happening in Palestine. It's the realization that we're appeasing to all kinds of algorithms every day. And the thing is, I know this video probably won't do well because YouTube seems to care more about Karens and shit that doesn't matter than real world issues. And what's happening in Palestine right now is a real world issue. It is a absolute atrocity. is devastating. It's devastating to watch. I'm sure it's the most devastating thing to happen to you as a person if you were there, if you're trying to get out, if you watch your family die, if you were forced from your home by Israeli soldiers, and then they burned your house when you left, telling you to give you glow sticks and put one woman in front with a glow stick and one woman in back with a glow stick and all the men and everybody else in the middle, and walk this way. They allowed them to take a bike so they can carry some of their belongings. And just one. It's one article I read. Just one. One of many families that was on AP. I think it came out today. So if you have the AP app, which is Associated Press, I'd highly suggest that. AP and Reuters are the two sources that I find are always fundamentally telling you the truth. Even if it's a scary truth to tell you. I feel that they're pretty truthful. And a lot of different publications get their information. They get information, they butt it up against people from AP and people from Reuters. Because to me, it's considered the apex of good reporting. But there's places like, there's sites called the Young Turks, TYT, that also are dedicated to the truth. And when the Israeli government does something wrong, they always call it out. They have for years. And people call them anti-Semitic. And it's like, it's not anti-Semitic to criticize a government that's doing the wrong thing. Committing genocide is always going to be the wrong thing. I don't care. I don't care what you say. Genocide of any people is 100% wrong 100% of the time. That'll never be okay. Never. Never be okay. No person, no group of people. There's no such thing as a bad group of people. I don't care what country you came from. We are all arbitrarily born to the country we were born into, to the parents we were born to. Where we start in life is all arbitrary. We don't have to be helpless. We can use whatever platform we have. I made a TikTok. I'm probably going to download that TikTok and repurpose it and put it on Instagram. I'm making a video for YouTube. It's not going to get that many views. It's not going to do well, and I already know that. But you know what? It's better to try and have it not do well than just be complicit and do nothing. And I think if we all talked about it, if we all were like, no, this is not okay. I don't care what your main channel is. I am challenging you to take a stand. I am challenging you to stop being afraid of your followers. Be afraid of them abandoning you for being a decent human being. For bringing politics into it. Because you know what politics is? In every facet of our fucking lives. Every fucking facet. We can't be complicit. We have to say something. This world is going, for lack of a better term, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in hell, but hell in a handbasket. My parents used to say that all the time growing up. We can band together. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're an independent. I don't care if you're whatever you politically identify as. You should be appalled by what's happening in Gaza. And by extension in the West Bank, because it's going to go there too. It's already gone there. Because if it can happen to these people, I mean, honestly, it can happen to anybody. And not because it happened to these people, it can happen to anybody. None of us are safe. I mean, I think there's people that feels very safe in their whiteness in America. And to an extent, I do too, because it's just baked into our system. But, I also know I'm a woman. And if shit were to go bad, I know I would be a second-class citizen instantly. Because the people who would do that are usually men. And then you'd get some women to help them coax other women to believe a lie, so they go along with it, and then they realize, shit, we were lied to. And then they blame the people that were lied to for going along with it, like victim blaming. But the thing is, I'm that person that wants to believe people too. I don't want to believe that they're telling me something just to trick me. No one wants to believe that. That's the thing. No one wants to believe that. Because it's ugly. It's gross, but it's true. And that happens. And so I need you to keep that in mind. If someone tries to... I know I'm going a little bit on the Handmaid's Tale, but if anyone tries to tell you that women need to not read books, women need to not work, and women need to, stop doing this and that, you need to say, no, that's bullshit. You need to fight against that and not accept that. We can't let those movements go forward, because I feel like that's what they're trying to do in this country. And I know I'm talking about multiple subjects, but the thing is, you can't talk about one thing without feeling the mirror effect in your own society. Yeah, we're not getting bombed, but there are far right people talking about a civil war. And then I look at what's happening in Gaza, and it makes me think, oh my God, could that be a reality in America one day? Because if the baddies, because the people who want to start the civil war are the baddies. Let's make that abundantly clear. They're the baddies in this situation. And if the baddies control the government at the same time, that I feel like we're in for a long road, a tough ride. And we need to be ready for it. So you need to make sure you get your passport. Make sure you have a wind up radio. Not the ones that they're selling on TikTok. Fuck TikTok. Buy it off of Amazon. Buy it somewhere else. Don't buy it off TikTok. I fucking hate those ads so much. But I got myself a radio. I actually have it with me. I feel like I need it. I usually just go along with this little crossbody purse, but now I'm carrying a tote bag with me that has that as well. So if I need a radio, I have one. If I need something that has a light, a flashlight, I have one. If I need an alarm, I have one, like a panic alarm. We got to stop this. We need to defund Israel, defund their government. All the money, America's, I don't know if we've already given it to them, but we're about to give them $14 billion. And they're going to use that to murder more Palestinians. We're funding that. The American people are fucking funding this. We're funding genocide against our will. And we need to make our government officials know under no certain terms, are we okay with that? So call your governor, call your congressman, let them know, call them all, call every one of them, write them, email them. They all have email addresses. They'll turn off their phones. So fax them, fax them. Can't turn off their email. They can create a bounce back, but they can't stop you from emailing them. Go to their office, go to their home. And I don't normally suggest that. Find their homes. If you see them in public, talk to them in public. I don't feel these people that are ignoring this, the government officials that are okay with being complicit, should have any comfort. Don't fuck with their children, though. Don't fuck with their kids. Their kids have nothing to do with it. Don't be crazy. Don't be threatening. Don't be weird. Don't hurt them. That's weird. Don't fucking hurt people. But make it known that what they're doing is not okay. And do it in a mature, adult way. Which is not calling them insults. Not... I mean, you may want to. I want to every day. But I knew if I was face to face with a congressperson, I wouldn't do that. I would tell them, this is what I would say to them. How are you okay being complicit in this? How are you okay with allowing Palestinians to die? How are you okay watching women and children dying, being blown up, being starved to death? How are you okay with that? What if it was your kids? Wouldn't you want someone to stop that from happening to your children? Wouldn't you want a government to aid you if that was happening to you and your family? I know I would. I don't know. I don't know what will work. I don't claim to know all the answers. I just know what other people have done in the past. I came across a TikTok about a Puerto Rican woman who was there when they overthrew their governor in 2019. So I'm going to input that TikTok now.
Hypothetically, if the U.S. citizens decided to rise up and attempt to overthrow the government.
Hi, I'm an activist from Puerto Rico, and in 2019, we rose up and overthrew our government. I want to talk about what does it look like for the average citizens to take on the government. What did we do that worked? And ultimately, in the long run, what did not work? And I want to use my experience and share it as a lesson or guidelines as to what we as not only American citizens, but global citizens can do to take on our political leaders to stop what's going on in Palestine. In 2019, the people of Puerto Rico forced our top elected official, our governor, the equivalent of our president, to resign. The movement was called Ricky Renuncia, Ricky Resign. And if you want to know more about that backstory, Google it. So how did we do it? The first thing that worked was consistency. Our movement was sparked by students and feminist organizations, young people, specifically young women. They started protesting outside of what is the equivalent of the White House of Puerto Rico, La Fortaleza, and they showed up every day, not just once, not twice, every day. That persistence and consistency inspired other people to get involved. And since they knew they were going to be there every day, it was easy to know where and when to show up because we knew protesters were going to be there every day. The next thing that worked is we got organized. Organized groups of people joined the protests. As I mentioned, we already have student groups and feminist groups. They were then joined by the queer community, the yoga community, people on horseback, on motorcycles, on kayaks, even people twerking y perreando in the name of protests. And then all these small individual organized groups of protesters did the next thing right that worked. We all united into one unified, unstoppable force. Which leads me to the next thing that we did right that worked. We used our unity and our power strategically. We applied strategy. Not only did we all agree on the one thing we were all protesting for, which was for Ricky to resign, our governor to resign, we all agreed that that was the end goal of what we were protesting for, but we used our unified protest to actively disrupt. You're looking at approximately 1 million Puerto Ricans shutting down a major highway. So no, we're not just in front of a government building at this point. This is not people gathering in front of the White House. This is shutting down traffic, shutting down commuters going to work, shutting down commerce and trucking, shutting it down. 1 million Puerto Ricans is 1/3 of our population. That would be the equivalent of like 110 million Americans protesting together in a strategic way, unified at the same time. 110 million Americans. And guess what? It worked. We did it. We forced our top elected official to resign. And all it took was 10 straight consecutive days of organized, unified, strategic action by the citizens. 10 days. I will never forget that feeling. I will never forget the feeling of knowing power to the people, that we have all the power, that if we actually take action, in a unified and strategic and organized way, we can do anything. We hold the power. After that day, nobody can tell me anything. Nobody can tell me we can't do anything about it. We don't have the power. We don't. Yes, we do. I lived it. It's real. We can. However, here's what did not work. Once we achieved our goal, which was to get our governor to resign, we just kind of went back to life. We got our short-term goal, we celebrated, and we moved on. But that was only a fix for the short term. And we did not continue what gave us success in the first place, which was consistency. And because we did not remain diligent and consistent, more government officials just came into office that continued to do more of the same. And we actually have ended up worse off. And it's only now, 4 years later in Puerto Rico, that we realized that and have finally, once again, organized and united for the next round of elections to try to make some more long-term lasting change. So all of this to say, yes, the people do have the power, and yes, we can do it. We can take on the US government, we can take on the Israeli government, the United Kingdom, whoever. We have the power and we can do it if we are a consistent, organized, united, strategic front. And once we achieve our short-term goal, which for example could be a ceasefire, we cannot stop there. We must remain diligent and consistent and united and strategic until we get a free Palestine. And it's going to be a long road, but we have to keep at it. And if we do, we can do anything. I promise you. Y si tú estás en Puerto Rico, hay una manifestación contra Israel y pro Palestina en Viejo San Juan este domingo. Nos vemos allá. Que viva Palestina libre.
And I loved that she went over what worked and what didn't work. I love that she said, you know, we did a good job, but we ended too soon. We stopped too quickly. And this required sustainability. This required a sustained, organized effort. And I think we might need to do that all over the world. We need to do a sustained, organized effort. We need to disrupt. And she's so right. Disrupt. They had 1 million Puerto Ricans on the freeway. That's 1/3 of their population. 1/3. Could you imagine 1/3 of the United States went out and protested? Just 1/3? That's 110 million people. That would disrupt the fuck out of everything. And that might be what we need to do. We may need to do mass protesting. But not just in America, not just in Israel. They are choosing to protest, but not only for their families to come back, but to stop the genocide. They don't want to be a part of that. They don't want to be a part of that. There's people in Israel that do not want to be a part of that. So we cannot blame this on Israeli people or Jewish people in general. Because while there might be people out there that are of Jewish descent, a Jewish religion, that believe in what Bibi Netanyahu is trying to do, I don't doubt that. But there's also probably a lot more that disagree, that go against it. So I think we need to really be honest about what's going on and say, okay, because we aren't fighting. We need to fight for them. We all need to fight for these Palestinians. We all need to fight for them. Because when push comes to shove, we might need someone to fight for us. in this country. And it is beneficial to help groups out that are oppressed, that are being mistreated, that are being exterminated. It is our duty as fellow human beings to say that is not okay. We do not agree with this. We do not subscribe to this. We do not want our government funding this. This is what terrorism looks like. And yes, I'm calling the Israeli government terrorists because that's exactly what they are right now. They are acting as if they are terrorists because they are terrorizing the Palestinians. And by extension, they are fucking terrorizing the world. I have a hard time thinking about anything else right now. And I know I'm not the only one. It weighs on me. It weighs on me in a mental way. It weighs on me in a heavy way. And I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only one that this is weighing on. We need to enact change. We need to save the Palestinians. But I feel like by saving the Palestinians, we're also going to save our own country. Because we are facing a far-right government. We are facing... I don't know who's going to win the election. I've never hated my choices more than I do this time. It's never been as bad as it is this time. Because, before, when Joe Biden hadn't been the president, you still had hope that he was going to do the right thing, be a good president, and then he wasn't. He didn't, and he wasn't. He isn't. He's not a good president. You know why? Because he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about any of us. He doesn't want to fix anything. But he doesn't want to completely destroy democracy. So we're faced with a wet blanket that just keeping the status quo, which is arguably better than destroying democracy. What shred of democracy we have left. We've never had a true democracy. So our democracy has always been not true, but it's always been the version we have is better than not having it. I think it was Winston Churchill that said, democracy is a terrible form of government, except for all the other forms of government. Like, it's the best one we have, and it's not great. And I think the best version of government would be a combination of things. Like, for democracy, we need free and fair elections. We need to have a vote count as a vote. Like, the popular vote needs to determine who gets to be president, who gets to have the office. Not this electoral shit. Because that was invented to make it unfair. No gerrymandering. Because that's invented to make it unfair for whoever's trying to use it. I don't care if Democrats are using it. I don't care if Republicans are using it. It's wrong either way. I don't agree them using it either way. I don't think you should skew the results in one way or the other. The person should have to earn. They need to earn that vote. Not just be handed it. We need people that are going to fight for us. I used to think that, if we got enough progressives in office, it would change things. And then we got a bunch of progressives. I mean, not the majority, but we did get quite a few progressives. And they were strong for a while. And I'm not giving them shade. Because I don't know why they caved. I'm assuming mounting pressure. Because it's not... I don't think it's comfortable to be a progressive in that landscape amongst Republicans and status quo Democrats. The The Democrats that just, they don't care. They say they care, but they don't really. Like the Nancy Pelosi's. Fuck her. Fuck her and her views. She doesn't give a shit. She fucking doesn't. None of them do. I believe all the progressives do actually care. But I also think they may have been beaten down by the system. Because it's rigged against them too. It's rigged against anything that's different. It's rigged against trying to make the system better. Whenever you're trying to make it better, it's against you. Because people fucking love their corruption. Their comfortability in it. Like Nancy Pelosi, insider trading, 100%. 100%, in my opinion. You know, I'm 100% sure Joe Biden has done some shady shit. 100%. I don't think he's a perfect man. I don't think anybody is. I don't think anyone on earth, there's no one on earth that will fit what we assume a politician should be, because it's an impossible standard. You know, you can't have any skeletons in your closet. You can't have any issues. You can't have been an addict. You can't have, you know, had any hard times where you had to struggle. You know, you can't have any of that. Anything that is fucking relevant to the rest of us. You know, like, I would stand behind somebody that was like, you know what? I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. I learned a lot about myself and the world. And, you know, I want to make it better. And this is why. You know, it's the women who run for office because their sons were gunned down unjustly. And they get into office because they feel like they need to do it to try to enact change against gun regulations. And then they get in office. And then they realize it's not the Republicans that are stopping this change. I mean, they are, because they're funded by the NRA, but a lot of them are. I'm talking politicians, not regular Republicans. They're not funded by anybody. And then you got these Democratic politicians that are funded by equally bad people, oil businesses, you know, bad entities that don't give a shit about anybody. America has become a corporatocracy where our corporations, they're the top. They are the top of the food chain. They are the top of the food chain. They decide a lot about our lives. That's why I don't really think the Kellogg ban is going to actually work. I mean, do you know how many brands Kellogg has? A lot. I mean, they have Garden Burger. I went plant-based towards the beginning of the year. And I love Impossible brand stuff, but it's not carried everywhere. So I went, you know, a lot of places around me have Garden Burger, which is Kellogg. And have Morningstar, which is Kellogg. I don't want to support that company, but I have to, because my options, I don't have an option. The illusion of choice is there. Either way, I'm funding Kellogg. We have the illusion of choice in this country. It's a lot of illusion of choice. A lot of our democracy is an illusion of choice. Voting for Trump versus Biden, or vice versa, Biden over Trump. While I do believe that voting for Trump is worse than anybody. And I won't vote for Trump. I would never vote for Trump. His border rhetoric, people that are like centrist Democrats are kind of buying into it. And I worry, are they going to vote for him because of that? Because there's a lot of single issue voters where they vote for one candidate because of the specific, not because of all their policies, for one policy, one of many that's just most important to them. And we all do it sometimes. I mean, before the last election, I would have said, oh, Joe Biden, he is an ally to women. And then Roe versus Wade got overturned. And there was stuff that he could have done that he didn't. He could have tried to use his executive powers to shore up as much as he could. He could have gone to Congress and saying, hey, we need to enshrine this in our Constitution. I mean, Barack Obama said that was going to be day one, that he was going to enshrine into a Constitution that women have the right to choose. He didn't do it. It wasn't important enough. So in some ways, that really puts us as second-class citizens. And then there's conservatives out there, evangelicals, conservatives, to be specific, but conservatives, which their views are anything but conservative. They're so out there. They're so outlandish. The far right. I'm just going to call them the far right because it's not conservative views. Conservative would mean that very little changes. I'm also keeping in the back of my mind, and I told my husband this. I said, we need to have a plan. So if things go to shit, grab our passports, drive to the airport, buy a ticket, and leave. And to some people, they may oh, you're being dramatic. No, I'm not. I'm being pragmatic because there's so many similarities happening in the world that's also happening in the United States. And it's alarming. It's alarming. And it's also alarming how many people are opting out. I think I opted out for a little while. I needed to, my mental health, I needed to, but I'm back, bitches. I'm back. Because fuck. This shit, fuck. And yeah, I'm gonna swear. If you don't like swearing, I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm an adult. I get to swear. That's my right. This is my channel. And honestly, I'm not even monetized. But when I am monetized, because I will be monetized. This channel will be fucking monetized at some point. It's not going to matter. Because you can swear on YouTube. And if it hurts your delicate ears, that's not my problem. That's you. It's a you issue. You need to work that out. Why you're so triggered by swear words. That's you. That's your problem. Because people use swear words not because they're dumb, not because they don't know any other words. It's because they're angry, they're scared, and it's used for emphasis. And it's a common way to show emphasis about something that we all pretty much know what that means. We all know when someone's like, fuck, that they're so frustrated that it made them just blurt out a swear word. And we all know what that feels like because we've all been there at some point. If we're an adult, we've all been there at some point. Most of us have. There's a function for swearing. It has a function. But this has got to stop. We have got to take a stand. We have got to fight for Palestine. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to right now. Today, this is what we need to do. There's Operation Olive Branch, and there's a spreadsheet there's several families that need help. I think they all have a GoFundMe. And it's so sad that they have to use a GoFundMe to escape this heinous, I can't even articulate it. It's just so awful. It's just so awful. Free Palestine. We need to free them. We need to be part of this. Every one of us. It's not time to be complicit. We can't be complicit. The time is now. Act in any way you can. You don't have to donate money. You don't have to protest. I have an anxiety disorder that I'm not sure will allow me to do that. So this is going to be my form of protest. But do what you can. Do what you can. Do what you can. It's all you can do. Do your best. Do what you can. Thank you. Please like this video. Please share it. Please subscribe.